At the same time, another story that really lands with me.
Speaking of lack of power.
Lacking power, very good transition there, is what's been going on with Britney Spears. And so last week, of course, we were all riveted by the searing testimony that she gave. Britney Spears, who is 39 years old, we really haven't heard in her words what her life has been like since 2008 when she was put into this conservatorship, which means that her dad and a team of other basically grifters control her every move, her life, her career, whether she's working or not working, whether she can have a kid, whether she can have a boyfriend, all of it, whether she can have a cell phone, who her own legal counsel is going to be, all of that. We really haven't heard directly from Britney. So we heard her searing testimony about how horrific that has been for her and how she just wants to have a normal life and be able to make some decisions for herself. Ronan Farrow and Gia Tolentino at The New Yorker have done a major expose here in The New Yorker with some major revelations. I'm going to go through a few of them. It's a relatively long piece, but the portrait it paints is deeply troubling. I mean, this is a portrait of the way that American capitalism has chewed up and spit out one of our top stars. This is a story of the way that power and money completely corrupted and tore apart this family. It's a story of how all of these bloodsuckers have been leeching off and living off of Britney while she herself she's actually, her lawyer gets paid more than she herself is given in living expenses, just to give you a sense of how absurd this situation is. And oh, by the way, and this I thought was also really galling, her dad has used her money to hire PR professionals to try to keep control of the conservatorship and push back on any of Britney or anyone else's questions and concerns about what exactly is going on here. The big context is, while her every move has been controlled and while the courts continue to insist that she's unable to make any of her own decisions in this conservatorship, she's released 4 albums, headlined a global tour that grossed $131 million, and performed for 4 years in a hit Las Vegas residency. Yet, even while she's able to clearly do all of that effectively and make a lot of money, her conservators, including her father, have controlled her spending, communications, and personal decisions. And last week, even after that searing testimony from Britney herself, the judge denied her request to remove her dad, who she paints as particularly abusive, and there are some details regarding that in this piece as well, to remove him from being in charge of her finances. Couple things about him that are revealed in this piece. First of all, there's a moment after Britney had, one of these, whether it was a mental health crisis or whether it was people around her wanting her to paint her as crazy. After one of these incidents, they're all gathered together, and one of Britney's longtime, like a family friend, recounts that her dad was sitting there at a desk, flat screen TV was playing nearby, and her dad said to her, "Baby," and the friend said, "I thought he was going to say, 'We love you, but you need help.' But what he said was, 'You're fat. Daddy's going to get you on a diet and a trainer, and you're going to get back in shape. You see that TV over there? You know what it's going to say in 8 weeks? That's going to be you on there, and they're going to say, she's back.'" He also screamed at Britney's mother, who was trying to push back on some of the decisions, but comes off as kind of like well-intentioned but too weak to really take control of the situation, doesn't want to catch any of the blame, so she let a lot of this transpire, as the way she's portrayed in the piece. When she was pushing back on some of the decisions of the conservatorship, he yelled at her, "I am Britney Spears." And that's the way these people see themselves. Yeah. Every week they have a meeting, they determine, what's she going to post on social media? What are we going to do with, she has this offer and this, question about whether to license the music rights here. Where's she going to be? What's she going to do? What's she going to say? A council is meeting on a weekly basis to determine all of those things for her. There's also allegations in here about the way that they've tried to sabotage some of her romantic relationships. She's not allowed to have her own phone that she can just use and call. She's not allowed to go where she wants. And on the eve of this latest hearing, she actually called 911 in order to report herself as a victim of conservatorship abuse. So there is a lot in here. And there was one piece, the last piece that I'll call your attention to, because I think this exposed how horrific a situation this is, not just for Britney Spears, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who found themselves in these like legal catch-22s where they have no control over their lives, who have no rights, who've been, deemed unable to control their own lives and are being taken advantage of in a similar way. And they quote an expert who says, basically the idea that Spears needs this conservatorship to function is self-reinforcing. In that respect, her case is common. A disability rights lawyer said that many guardianships can prove inescapable, which is why they're vulnerable to abuse. In the extreme cases, the strategy is isolate, medicate, liquidate. You isolate them, you medicate them to keep them quiet, another thing that Britney alleged. You liquidate the assets. If the conservatee functions well, then that can be framed as this is going great. The arrangement is necessary. If they get out and they stumble into crisis or manipulation, then, and that, of course, is a likelihood that's increased by the length of time that you've been in the conservatorship, unable to function in the real world, then that, too, might reinforce the argument, oh, we got to put these restraints back on. So it doesn't matter if you do well. They say, see, look, this is going great. If you do poorly, they say, see, they really need this help. If you actually get out and then you stumble, because human beings stumble sometimes, then it's, oh, see, it was really better when we were looking out for her. So it's really just an unconscionable situation all the way around.
Yeah, this is horrible. I mean, I read the piece and just, I'd never really been familiar with the entire concept of conservatorship regardless, and I was like, wait, how is this legal? Like, what is happening here?
She can't even pick her own lawyer.
Yeah, she can't pick her own lawyer.
And
she can't decide if she wants to have a baby.
If you're
a 40-year-old woman.
Yeah. You can pick your own lawyer. But Britney Spears cannot pick her own lawyer.
She made, and like you were pointing out, I think that was the craziest part, is that at the same time where she's supposedly unfit for any of this, she's making hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's like, well, wait, pick one. So if you're gonna make this hundreds of millions of dollars, then you should probably be in charge of your own money. And look, we've let all sorts of people, like, it's a free country at the end of the day. Like, all sorts of people earn a lot of money, and it's their deal. They can do whatever they want with it. And this is the part which galled me, is that it's clear that her father has been, grooming is the wrong word, but like, crafting this star, from the very beginning, molding her for stardom, pushing one of those prototypical parents pushing their child and hoping that they get rich. A story almost as old as time whenever it comes to Hollywood, but somehow, usually those adults break away and, they have public meltdowns or whatever, but at least it's their own meltdowns and at least they have the control of their own money. She's almost 40 years old and she can't decide if she wants to have a baby. She can't decide if she can't decide if she has a phone or not. I mean, the level of minute control that we're discussing here is just so ridiculous that it seems pretty clear that this is one of the worst examples, I think, of all time. I also think that that is why it has really captured the public imagination. I mean, look, I was like, Britney Spears, like, what? But then you read more about it, and I think it probably resonates, like you said, with a lot of people who found themselves just in a powerless situation. Think about, when a boss tells you to do something which doesn't make any sense, but they pay you. So what are you gonna do? They just have you by your lapels, and you can't do anything about it. And that's the part, at least, I think, that resonated the most with me, is that the powerlessness that people can feel whenever they're under control in a completely unfair situation. And it does seem that that's what this is. But look, I mean, her conservatorship was just held up by the court. So it's like, what is going on there? Do they know something that we don't know? That was what some people pushed back and said. They're like, look, maybe the judge knows something that you don't. Maybe, but at this point, there's been a lot of reporting here. There's been a decent amount of visibility into the situation. And it does not seem to me that this should be legally justifiable. But again, there could be some details here.
Another thing they talk about is when it was first put in place, first of all, a lot of the people who were involved in testifying in favor of the conservatorship, they thought it was going to be temporary. And at least one of them told these two reporters that she really regrets her role in putting Britney into this conservatorship where she's been now for over a decade. So that's number one. And number two, they reveal how that initial process, which again now has controlled her life for over a decade, how that was done so quickly with so little deliberation. The judge granted her dad everything that he possibly wanted, even waiving there's a requirement to inform the person 5 days before it takes hold. Even that requirement was waived. This was all done in this very quick fashion with massive implications. One of the things that just on a personal level really, really got me is Britney adores her kids. And like one of the things that has sparked some of these like public I hate using the word meltdown because it's so loaded, but some of these public spectacles that have been created around Britney is because she wanted so badly to just be with her kids and just be able to be mom to her kids. And everyone around her says she's a fantastic mother and she adores those boys. And they really weaponized that to control her. Like, if you don't behave, you're not going to get to see your kids. That is just, as a mom, I mean, that just really is as low as it absolutely gets. So there's major questions about whether her lawyer's really been representing her interest or been representing more the interests of her dad and the other people, because he's profiting off of this situation as well. It appears, at least what Britney said, was that she hadn't even been informed that she could petition the court to end the conservatorship altogether. This latest case was about just removing her dad. So there's a chance that now she's going to be able to file to petition to end the conservatorship altogether, and hopefully there's some progress there. But an incredibly important and just very disturbing portrait of what's been going on with her over these years.
Yeah, no.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.